Hello, lovelies. I am Queen Lovely. Welcome back to Melanated Crowns, activating your divine femininity. Here on this channel, we are about helping Black women obtain and sustain their mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. So if that is something that interests you as well, what you want to do is hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and hit and enable that notification bell. And make sure whatever question I put in the comment, you feel free and comfortable to partake in the conversation. We're very friendly. Today for the Wednesday Wisdom, I want to talk to Black women about staying focused on your soul purpose and on your karmic path, okay? So each of us have a soul purpose that is tailored to our individual paths. This is something that is predestined before we come into consciousness and before we come into the physical world. And unfortunately, a lot of us go our whole life, or a great percentage of our life, without truly knowing what it is that we're supposed to be doing. Now, as a Black woman who is tapped into her divine feminine energy source, there is a multitude of ways to figure out what you are supposed to be doing in this physical realm as a spiritual being during this specific lifetime, okay? First and foremost, astrology is always a good tool to figure this out. It's good to invest in yourself and get a birth chart reading of some form. This is where you can figure out your nodal placements. This is where you can figure out the placements that lie in your second, your sixth, or your 10th house, which deals with your career. This is when you can look at your midhaven, which deals with your public reputation and what you're likely to be known for. And once again, your nodal placements, which is your north node and your south node. Everybody has one in their birth chart. The south node points towards a past life and qualities that you emulated. The north node points towards where you are heading in this lifetime, or shall I say qualities that you are supposed to adapt in this lifetime to help you fulfill your karmic loop so that you could stop, reincarnating here and doing this over and over again. Another way to figure out, what you're supposed to be doing is get a psychic reading of some sort, or get a spiritual advisor that has, contact with the spiritual realm through divination tools, or just merely with their intuition. Okay, we have mediums and whatnot that can connect with your ancestors, that could connect with your bloodline. Make sure this is a trusted source. That way they could properly give you the information that your ancestors, the entities, and the deities, and the Most High is constantly trying to communicate with you through experiences and interactions in different stages of your life that sometimes we miss because we are too caught up and too focused and distracted with what's going on in this world. Now, I think this is a very important topic for Black women, merely because the reality of the situation is we have seen time and time again that on a collective level, society doesn't really always have our backs. It's really up to ourselves to make an intentional choice and a conscious choice to want the best for ourselves and to pursue it in whichever way we see fit and whichever way is tailored to our path. In addition to that, we have a lot of Black women who fall victim to not making their pain and their anger expensive, as some will say. So when you make your pain and anger expensive, you basically are an alchemist, okay? For those of you that don't know what alchemy is or what being an alchemist is, it's literally like the quote, turning ish into sugar, okay? Another man's trash is another man's treasure. Looking at the glass as half full as opposed to half empty, and taking a negative and turning it into a positive when most people would just pout about something, okay? That is being an alchemist. That is alchemy. A lot of Black women, from my personal observation and my personal opinion, okay? And if this does not apply to you, then it just does not apply to you. But if you know that you can relate with this, try to move past feeling judged. Try to move past feeling seen and just listen to what I have to say, because what I'm saying is very valuable, and this information could truly put you on the path to changing your life and your perspective, okay? A lot of Black women, whether they know it or not, have a tendency to take on the burden of other people's pain, trauma, and disappointment and anger. And somehow or another, they don't realize that that energy, while, constantly rewatching a video, while constantly being subscribed or following someone on social media who is always complaining, who is always finding something wrong as opposed to finding something right, subconsciously you are planting seeds and then watering these seeds on a daily basis, okay, continuously, to think that this is your personal reality, okay? A lot of people think that when it comes to expressing empathy, that means that you have to take on the burdens and the sorrows and the sadness and the injustices from all around the world, and that is not the case. First of all, part of having empathy, okay, is not being taken advantage of. People who are healers, people who are givers, people who are empaths, they have a tendency, until they're able to set boundaries for themselves and set boundaries between themselves and others, to be manipulated and to be taken advantage of and to fall victim to takers and to fall victim to narcissistic people and codependent people, because we empathize so much. We could feel the pain, the anger, the sadness so much and relate and be like, oh my God, that's so sad, and be there for us. Some people take advantage of that. So when you are a true empath, you have to get to a place where you are compartmentalizing your empathy. You can see something and you can feel for someone, or you can feel for a situation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend the rest of your day, the rest of your week, or the rest of your month, allowing this to put you in spiritual poverty, allowing this to put you in emotional and mental poverty, okay? And this is why I personally deleted all of my personal social media and I just kept my business page, because I was just tired of, I could be having like a half decent day or a good day or an okay day, but the minute I go on Twitter, the minute I go on Facebook, the minute I go on Instagram, it's like my mood goes from being a solid 7 or an 8 to like a 4 or a 3 or even a 0. I was tired of allowing these demigods, which social media I feel like is becoming, to have, dominion over my emotional, mental, and spiritual state. And I will never forget when Spirit woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and something just told me to meditate, and I literally heard Spirit say, it's time to get off of social media. It's time. It's not doing anything for you. It's counterproductive to your personal path. It is time to get off of social media. And what I found was ironic about that was, in the coming of weeks, when I started permanently deleting my social media, I started to see that people were talking about this documentary that had came out on Netflix that talked about social medias and phones and how it has access to this and how it's tailored to manipulate the masses into feeling and having certain emotions inflicted on them. And I said, see, Spirit knows what it's talking about. Part of being tapped in with your higher self, part of being tapped in with that divine feminine energy, is to always listen and trust your intuition, okay? And if you find yourself in a repetitive and a continuous loop of getting worked up over the same issues, but yet there is no solution in sight, you are not tapped in with your divine feminine energy source, and you are not tapped in with your intuition, okay? Now, what made me make this video is Amanda Seales, right? I remember earlier this year, Amanda Seales went on the Breakfast Club, and she was talking about how she had a moment of feeling suicidal. She's really tired of, she just wants to be able to dwell in her softness and dwell in her femininity. She doesn't always want to be putting 20 on 10 and being like the social justice warrior. And it made sense. Amanda Seales is 39 years old. I'm sure reality is knocking at her. She probably wants to have a significant other. Maybe she wants to have kids. She's very beautiful. She's very intelligent. She's very successful, creative, artistic, all of those things. But for some reason, she never appears to be happy. She never appears to be happy. When I look in her eyes, from a spiritual perspective, from an intuitive perspective, her ashe, it just seems really sad. Her soul seems sad, okay? Her spirit seems sad. And I felt like she was on a journey of, going through a spiritual awakening of some sort. She was on a journey of really tapping into her divine feminine energetic source, because she does dwell in masculine energy a lot, which is, interesting, because she is a Cancer sun and moon. So her having that double whammy of feminine energy, and then being a moon child on top of that. So her sun sign is moon, and then her moon sign is also Cancer. That is directly correlated with the moon, which is feminine energy, which is maternal energy. It's just ironic that she doesn't really dwell in that. She just doesn't. I don't know, like, I'm not a professional astrologer, and I don't know how it's aspected in her chart, but I just find that ironic because you have people like Tamara and Tia Mowry who are Cancer sun and Cancer moon, and they don't act alike. So, it just goes to show people can have the same placements, but depending on how they're aspected, it could just breed different personalities. And, Amanda was just talking about that, and I was here for it. Even though I don't really care for Amanda as a person and the way she comes across, I'm always excited when I see Black women finally just have that epiphany and have that aha moment of like, you know what? I want to, embark on this journey of being feminine. I want to embark on this journey of tapping into the divine feminine energetic source that's within me. Like, this is something I want to do. I'm always excited when I hear Black women specifically say that. The problem is, though, if you have been on this earth, and I'm going to use Amanda Seales as the example in the catalyst, for 30-something years, and your time on this earth, you haven't really fulfilled your purpose. You haven't really tapped into that. Even when you do begin to make those conscious decisions to embark on those journeys, it's going to be extremely hard for you because you have become accustomed to thinking and showing up a certain way. And that's what I see with Amanda Seales. Amanda Seales, she is just someone that dwells on her intelligence a lot, and she dwells on being right. And what I mean by that is when you are someone who walks around with an attitude and you think in order for you to be right, everybody else has to be wrong. When you are someone who gets off on always being right or always being the most intelligent person in the room or the smartest person in the room, and you always have to name drop your degrees, okay? That really speaks to your inability to use anything else that God has given you to present and make a point. And that's the problem that a lot of people have with Amanda Seales, okay? She went on this rant about how she's a genius. She goes on rants quite often. But what I want to talk about is this. Amanda Seales feels like there is a fine line between, like, she feels like apathy should not exist in a time like this where there's a lot of things going on with politics. There's a lot of things going on with social justice. And here's what I say to people like her. You need to learn how to focus on your individual soul purpose and your soul path, okay? Once again, I feel like what has happened with Amanda, especially with her always being on social media and always being in the mixes, she has adopted the traumas and the struggles and the pain and the anger of people, and she has made it her own. And as a result, when it's time for her to really do something that is tailored to her soul purpose, because she is a Leo North Node, okay? She is meant to be in business. She is meant to be a creative. She is meant to be an artist, okay? It's hard for her to coexist with her castmates and her co-host and anybody else that is on set, because she is so busy carrying the soul purpose and the soul project of other individuals that does not belong to her. Follow me here. When you have a soul purpose and you have a karmic project to fulfill in this lifetime, I'm not saying that it will be easy. I'm not saying that it will be smooth sailing, but it won't have you at a point to where you feel like you want to commit suicide, at least in my opinion. I will say that's my opinion. I don't know this to be fact, but that is my opinion, okay? Whenever things start to feel extremely, extremely heavy on us to the point where it's suffocating us, and this is happening on a regular basis, it's hard for us to achieve happiness. It's hard for us to achieve internal peace. It's hard for us to achieve spiritual solitude. Maybe it's because this is not what you're supposed to be doing, or it is what you're supposed to be doing, but the way that you're going about doing it, it does not align with your path that is tailored to you, okay? And we all fall victim to that at one point or another, okay? We constantly have media that is manipulated. We constantly have perspectives that is manipulated. And if you are not strong enough to understand and see with your spiritual eye what's going on, it's easy to fall into that trap. Amanda Seales can't convince me to become emotionally, mentally, or intellectually invested in some of the stuff that she's invested in, because you just said earlier this year that being invested in all of these things and having all of this energy come at you made you suicidal. So who would sign up for that? I don't see how, as someone who has had a hard time walking the path that you're walking, you're so confused and baffled that people are not willingly signing themselves up to walk that path with you, especially if that is not their tailored path. It is not everyone's path to quote unquote fight the good fight. Okay, now I just put a post up on my community wall. Y'all could go read it after you're done listening to this video. Okay, and I just wanted to make it clear. Things like white supremacy, things like capitalism, it's never going to end. Now, if Spirit spoke to you and tapped you on your shoulder and said, you know what, this is your path, this is what you're supposed to be doing, this is the fight that you're supposed to be fighting, we've given you the tools emotionally, intellectually, mentally, and spiritually to fight it, you're strong enough, that's different. But if you are just someone that sits on social media day in, day out, complaining in an echo chamber merely to evade accountability and self-awareness for your shortcomings, then that's not your path. That's just escapism for you. And that's just something to make you feel better about what it is that you didn't do to reach your potential in this lifetime. So please, please, please do not, Black women, if you intuitively do not feel led to be emotionally or invested in any type of capacity in the multitude of issues that is going on in this country, that has been going on in this country, but now the media wants to use it and highlight it so it could fearmonger you into doing things that intuitively you just know has nothing to do with your path, stand strong, okay? Get away from people who make you feel bad. Take a break from social media and just retreat to yourself. Retreat to yourself, because to know yourself is to love yourself, okay? And that is it. I will end the video here. This is the Wednesday Wisdom message. I hope you all enjoy. Please hit the thumbs up and have a lovely day.